So guys, we have the most anticipated fight of the year. I'm talking about the lightweight division. The champ, the undefeated Khabib Nurmagomedov. He's taking on Justin Gaethje. We're breaking the whole main card down and giving our predictions right now. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
Guys, do we ever have a card to break down for you? Of all the prediction videos that we've done, this is the one I'm most excited about. This is just like Khabib Nurmagomedov versus Justin Gaethje.
Yeah.
This is the kind of fights you dream of if you're a real, true MMA fan.
Oh, yeah. This is the creme de la creme. And when they announced this fight as being official, I didn't care what they put on the rest of the card. I would have bought it happily and enjoyed the card because this main event means so much, not only to the UFC, but to the crazy lightweight division that is in the UFC. It's the most stacked division, the most difficult. It's had the most controversy happening, largely because of Khabib and Conor.
Has the biggest stars in the industry in that division.
Right, and the ones that are not the biggest stars, they might have had been in it in the previous days. So this fight means a lot. This belt might be the most significant UFC belt in the entire sport right now, and it's among us. We're only a few days away.
We got interim versus champion versus undefeated Khabib Nurmagomedov, and that'll be the fight we break down last. But my goodness, Justin Gaethje might even get mad at me for saying interim because we saw when Dana White put that belt around his waist, the first thing he did before he talked to Joe Rogan was throw it off and said, I'll wait for the real one.
Which shows just how much of a gangster he is.
He is.
As you should, most fighters would take that and run with it. I know if I received an interim title, I would definitely hang it up in my house to be very proud of it.
Oh, yeah.
He should be proud. I mean, in everybody's eyes, he's a champion. You get that 12 pounds of gold strapped around your waist, you're a champion no matter if there's an I in front of the C or not. But he got in this as a competitor. He wants to showcase that he is the best fighter on the planet. And you just have to get through the eagle, Khabib Nurmagomedov, to prove that.
Easier said than done.
Nobody's ever done that before.
So I have the actual not statistics, but betting lines rather. So starting with the main card, we have the heavyweights, the skyscraper, and the Samoan warrior. So we got Tai Tuivasa versus Stefan Struve. Now on this one, it's kind of a pick'em. Tuivasa is minus 105. Struve is minus 115. Tuivasa is on a 3-fight skid. Struve is 1-4 in his last 5.
Yeah.
So this does feel like a bit of a desperation fight for both fighters.
Yeah.
Struve, especially as he's in his 30s. Tuivasa is still kind of young for a heavyweight at 27. How do you see this one going?
Well, there's a few things that are interesting about this fight. Like you said, they've both kind of hit tough times lately, but Stefan Struve's last out was a very unfortunate event for him, and it just kept happening again and again. It was groin shots. That was the story of that fight. He got hit in the groin, and it was apparently a pretty bad one. Anytime a heavyweight hits you below the belt, it's probably pretty rough. But then it happened like 2, or if I'm not mistaken, 3 more times.
Yeah.
And it literally ended the fight for him. He would mentally checked out. The adrenaline dump had happened multiple times. I did see him doing well in that fight. He was probably on the scorecards winning. I'd have to go back and rewatch it, but I think he was doing really well, and it was just a devastating way to return to the octagon. I felt for the big man. Anytime there's somebody who's touching 7 feet, you want to see him do well, just for the show that it is, the spectacle that it is. So
you don't see too many people towering over the top of the cage,
right? And that being said, Tai Tuivasa is not a very tall heavyweight. He's a thick Mark Hunt type of build. So we're going to see a big contrast in height, which I think is actually really cool. It usually makes for a fun fight, and Stefan Struve's going to have to use that range as well as he can, which is very difficult to do. Tai Tuivasa is going to have to get past those long limbs and try to close the distance but Tai Tuivasa is not much of a grappler, so we're going to see a striking match, but it's going to be, can you keep the distance, and can Tai Tuivasa get inside like a Mike Tyson?
Who do you see winning this?
There's a little bit of it's hard to say. This is a difficult fight for me to call. Tai Tuivasa does have that crazy power, but I've got hopes for Stefan Struve to get a win in this one. So, man, this is tough. This is very tough. You know what? I'm gonna go against my heart. I'm gonna go Tai Tuivasa. He gets some sort of a weird finish.
Okay. Yeah, and I kind of went back and forth on this one as well. I'm actually going with Struve.
Okay.
I think we're going to see Struve. He's got a little bit more experience, more fights under his belt.
Yeah.
He's got a win over Stipe Miocic, for goodness sake.
Yeah.
So, I think that Stefan Struve it's going to be a decision fight, which I don't normally predict decision fights in the heavyweight division, especially with guys like Tai Tuivasa in there. But I do think that Struve is going to be able to solve the striking puzzle early on. Struve has proven that he's got a chin. He has suffered some knockouts, but all in all, he's a durable heavyweight in my opinion. And like you said, the groin shots were really the tail of the story last time. So
he probably would have won that fight without the groin shots. But
probably so.
Now that you say decision, it's got in my mind. I think Tai Tuivasa decision. You got Stefan Struve decision. So
interesting. I was not expecting us to both pick decisions for the heavyweight fight, but
it's kind of like what we said last week when there's a number one contenders fight or a title on the line or something like that. People usually don't risk too much and they try to play a conservative game. When you're on a 3-fight losing streak or you're 1-4 in your last 5 fights, you generally tend to take a more conservative approach to your next match.
Absolutely. So let's see who we got next. We got the rematch. We got, I'm going to butcher these names, Magomed Ankalaev and Ion Cutelaba. Is that right?
Yeah, I think, okay. Your Spanish is paying off because that one sounded pretty good.
There we go. I might be able to deliver the show in 2 languages one of these days.
One day.
Not anytime soon. But, okay, so this was the rematch that was the tale of, like, the rope-a-dope Muhammad Ali gone bad.
Yeah.
And that was what Cutelaba was doing.
Right.
And the problem is, if you want to be Muhammad Ali and you want to rope-a-dope somebody, have them beat. Have them worn down. Have them all but tapping out. All but finished and ready to throw in the towel. Don't rope. This was one of those situations where I think he got rocked and he tried to play it off like, oh, I'm not really hurt. But that can be a tell in and of itself sometimes. Right. How do you see this fight playing out?
Well, I'm glad that they're all running it back. It seems like forever since that first fight happened, and then they tried to make the rematch a couple of times. Some things like the coronavirus positive test for Cutelaba happened, and then they just couldn't get the dates right, it seemed. But I guess this one's 3rd or 4th time's a charm. And I'm super excited to see it. It looked like it was going to be a very fun fight. There was some animosity between the 2 fighters. But yeah, you're right about the rope-a-doping. Don't do it a minute and a half into the fight when it's a very competitive fight. And you were probably, even though we only saw a minute of it, you were probably losing that minute.
Right.
And, I hate when people blame the refs for things that really aren't the ref's fault. And in this case, this was not the ref's fault. He was rope-a-doping. But in my eyes, everybody that was watching with me was going, whoa, 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 he's out on his feet.
And I thought the same thing.
Everybody thought the same thing. So the ref who's in there and his only job is to protect the fighters at all costs, what is he supposed to do? Go, this guy's just acting. I mean, imagine if you saw a horrible like knockdown that turned into TKO punches and you just go, that guy on the ground's just playing possum. It's not one of those things. You can't fault the referee in these situations. I think Cutelaba made a careless mistake, tried to be a little bit cocky. He's kind of a brash character as is, and I think that just didn't pay off for him at all. I got Magomed in this one.
Yeah, I got Magomed too. I think he's going to cut, and he is actually a pretty heavy favorite. The second biggest favorite on the card, minus 320.
Well, see, I wouldn't expect it to have been that big of a difference, but because Cutelaba is a game guy, he comes at you, and he's got the power. But I think Magomed does have the skills, and now he knows that he's beat him once, even though it was controversial. He did get the win, so I'm excited to see that one finally.
I think Ion is going to play into Magomed's wheelhouse here because I think he's still pissed off about the first fight.
Yeah.
I think he's going to come in guns a-blazing, and I think it's going to play into Magomed's hand. He's going to be able to land some more shots, maybe take him down, maybe work him with the ground and pound.
Yeah. I got a TKO finish, 2nd round.
TKO finish 2nd round. I'll go round 1.
Okay,
TKO
cool.
finish.
It's going to be a fun fight.
Both for Magomed. Absolutely. Yeah. So moving on, H-Town put it down. We got Lauren Murphy.
Oh, man.
And so this fight was supposed to take place with Cynthia. Unfortunately, she got coronavirus.
Man,
so
they're dropping like flies.
Hope she gets better, certainly. And she's taking on a newcomer that I had to actually look up to see what she was about. Lilia Sharikova. This is her first fight in the UFC.
Yeah.
She's stepping in on short notice, and Murphy's on a 3-fight win streak.
Yeah, it kind of it's kind of like a softball, if you will. When you look at it on paper for Lauren Murphy, she's a top 4 female in the 125 division. And generally, when you're that close to the title, all it takes is one more win to probably get it. And it's not her fault that Calvillo had to back out. She's game. She stepped in. She's not denying any comers. They happen to find somebody who's making their debut, which if this girl's able to pull it off, which that's a tall order. Lauren Murphy's a very good fighter, deserves to be in the top 5, and is 1 fight away from a title shot. If she can pull this off, she's going to gain a lot of momentum in the 125 division, because rarely do you see somebody making their debut against a top 5 opponent whose next fight could very well be for the title.
This is one of those ones where if you want a modest return on your money, I think this is about as sure of a thing as you're going to get. I think Lauren Murphy's going to win this fight. Obviously, I'm biased. Lauren Murphy trains in Houston. Bob Perez, who is also the trainer of the Black Beast, has a great boxing and Muay Thai gym that he trains a lot of young up-and-comers out of. I think over the next 5 to 10 years, you're going to see Bob and his crew really rise to the cream of the crop in the UFC and in Bellator potentially, because he's doing some really good things over there.
Oh, yeah.
Really good.
And he's got great UFC fighters, multiple that are ranked in the
Derek
top
Lewis.
10, top 5. Yeah, Lauren Murphy and Derek Lewis are both top 4 fighters. So he's doing something right. I think people are just now getting smart to realizing that caliber of coaching is in Houston. And I think it's going to be like a Eugene Behrman type of situation where he's like around, he's in the thing, and then eventually he's just going to take off, and people are going to really put him on notice.
The overnight success that nobody saw was 10 plus 20 years in the making.
Exactly.
I got Murphy. Murphy is a smart fighter. She's a technical fighter.
Yeah.
So I don't know that I'm calling a KO, but I'm saying 30-27, all 3 judges, 3 rounds to none.
Okay. Well, I think Lauren Murphy does get the win. I'm going to say that because there's, title implications on for this fight, it's maybe for one fighter, not for both, but Lauren Murphy would definitely be the one that gets a title fight after this. And I think what we're going to see is her come out and try to really make a statement so she gets that next shot at Valentina. Of course, if Valentina can get past Maya, but I think she will, and I think Lauren Murphy's the right next opponent.
Great. Yeah, I agree with you. So let me see here.
Shout out to Houston.
H-Town. So the next one, admittedly, I had to look up again myself. We have the Contender Series overhand right knockout. This is a guy by the name of Phil Howes. I hope I'm saying that right.
I saw the fight. Yeah.
He had a great finish. It was an overhand, and then he finished him with some ground and pound.
Yeah.
He's taking on a gentleman by the name of Jacob Malkoun.
Okay.
Malkoun is a relative unknown. Yeah. He's only got 4 pro fights. He's won all 4 of them. None of them happen to be in the UFC. This one feels to me like it's one of those ones where they see something in a guy from the Contender Series like Sean O'Malley, and they're trying to set him up, put him in a fight that he can win and look good and start to become somewhat of a household name. So I think I'm going to go with Howes on this one.
What's the weight class? Does it say on there?
I think it's middleweight.
Okay, I'm going to go first round knockout.
First round knockout for Howes.
For the Contender, yeah.
For the Contender. I mean, and that's kind of been the recipe for the Contender Series, hasn't it? It's like, and then once you start to prove yourself and rise, Dana will let you rise as high as
and as quickly as you want,
And then somebody like Cheeto Vera puts you right back in your place.
Yeah, which we'll have to break down next week.
He's fighting Jose Aldo, by the way.
Jose Aldo, which that's going to be a hell of a fight.
We're not going to get ahead of ourselves, but that's going to be a Barnhill Brothers breakdown for sure.
Absolutely.
So, man, we've got a really good heavyweight fight coming up after that. This actually, this card is actually a really good card. When they first announced it, they had to fill some gaps and stuff. I was like, it's the main event is a banger, but the rest of the card is not going to be
What are they going to do to fill it in? And that's what I said at the beginning is they could have put a mop and a bucket in there as the co-main event, and I still would have watched it. But they replaced it with some big heavy hitters in Robert Whittaker and Cannonier. I don't know if that's who you're going to next.
No. Speaking of heavy hitters, how about Mr. Walt Harris versus Alexander Volkov? This is a really good one. Volkov is minus 185. Harris, the slight underdog. Volkov is coming off of a decision loss to Curtis Blades.
Yeah.
And obviously we know what happened to Walt Harris. He was in there with Overeem last time.
Right.
shortly after his daughter passed away. I think everybody in the world, as much as we love Alistair Overeem, was rooting for Harris in that one. Unfortunately, didn't get it done. How do you see this one playing out?
Man, this is a crazy fight. Walt Harris, you're exactly right. All I want to see is Walt Harris win and succeed in honor of his daughter. That's literally the toughest thing anybody in the sport has been having to deal with. And, you feel so bad for him that he took a loss. But, he was in there with legitimately one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time, Alistair
Certainly
Overeem.
One of the greatest strikers of
Without
all time.
Without a doubt. I really, and I've said it before, I'll say it again, I really hope Overeem can get the UFC strap at some point. But yeah, I did feel for Walt Harris on that one. And then Curtis Blades being able to beat Volkov, that just shows you if Volkov can go to a decision with Curtis Blades, who's a monster wrestler, we've got some real great skilled fighters coming into the octagon to fight each other. Volkov, he was beating Derek Lewis, who's the top 5 guy, is always one fight away from a title shot. And if he didn't, make a careless mistake and engage in the last 10 seconds of the fight or whatever it was, he would have easily walked right into a victory over Derek Lewis. That one-punch Black Beast power is a real thing, and it lasts long past the 3 or 5 rounds.
That's that H-Town Thunder.
Yeah, that's right. And that's the thing, man. He's throwing bombs in the 15 minutes or the 25 minutes he's given, and any time afterwards. That guy's always able to knock you out, no matter what you've put him through.
He usually likes to get you done quick because he's got to get to the bathroom.
Yeah, exactly. Got to go doo-doo or something, take his pants off. Also, I always hope Derek Lewis wins because the
side
post-fight
note,
interview. Yeah. But Volkov, his striking looked so crisp against Derek Lewis, and he looked really good against Curtis Blades, even though he couldn't really get much off. He was able to at least defend. And sometimes when there's no offense happening for you, the least you can do is showcase some defense. So I really hate to see Walt Harris go on a 2-fight losing streak. There might be some extra fire burning in him, but I think I might see Volkov getting a win.
Getting a stoppage win or?
No, a decision.
So I'm going to be honest. I was leaning towards Volkov, and then last night I watched the first Embedded.
Yeah.
And I saw Walt Harris in the parking lot of the Fighter Hotel in Vegas.
Yeah.
Doing some shadow boxing, and I know you can't tell that much from shadow boxing. Shadow boxing is but one aspect of one part of mixed martial arts.
How'd he look?
But he looked nimble. He looked quick. His movements and how his footwork seems to have improved. He looks like he's in good shape. He looks like he's in good spirits. I think he's gone back and corrected some mistakes. I'm going Walt Harris, 2nd round knockout.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I need to go back and watch that. Maybe it would have changed my mind, but I made my decision. I will sit in it.
Perfect. And so now we got the title eliminator at 180. Well, at least for one man it is.
Right.
Maybe 2. I don't know. We got Robert Whittaker versus Jared Cannonier, essentially a pick'em fight. The odds here are -105 for Whittaker, -115 for Cannonier. We've seen the odds be even, an even pick'em fight.
Yeah.
Whittaker literally has not lost since 2014, besides the Izzy loss.
Right.
So just a myriad of wins. Cannonier is on a 3-fight win streak, all knockout stoppages. David Branch, Anderson Silva, Jack Hermanson. So
that's ridiculous.
This is the clash of the Titans here.
Yeah, this is a crazy fight, and it's the 2 right guys. I know that Izzy just kind of made easy work of Robert Whittaker not too long ago. So you're right in saying that at least one of them is, if they win, they're getting the title shot. But I don't think anybody would be too opposed to seeing Robert Whittaker back in the octagon with Izzy at some point. Maybe not this soon, but if Jared Cannonier wins, the champ's already given him the blessing. If you win and you do it in spectacular fashion, you're getting the next shot.
Yeah.
And I think personally, if you can last and beat Robert Whittaker, that's spectacular fashion, no matter how it goes.
Whether it's a decision
I think that
or
was
not.
I think that was a way to light a fire under him a little bit. And is he smart to do that? Because he's going to try to go for the finish. He's going to try to put on an exciting fight, and that will help sell the Izzy versus Cannonier fight if he happens to get it. Whittaker's such a stud. And
it's so hard to pick against Whittaker.
So hard to pick against Whittaker, but I think Cannonier's onto something. I think Cannonier, dropping from heavyweight, coming to light heavyweight, found his home at middleweight. He looks like he might have the best body besides Paulo Costa, Yoel Romero in the entire UFC, which is weird. All the best bodies happen at 185, And a lot of them they cut from well over 200
because they were
pounds.
people that were competing at heavyweight that found their way down.
Came their way down.
I mean, if Roy Nelson had made it down to welterweight, he'd have had a body on him.
Mr. Olympia style body. So who knows? That might be hiding under there somewhere, under his beard and belly. But I'm going to go with Jared Cannonier. I think this is another fight where we know if one guy gets past, he's going to get a title shot. So it's going to be a very calculated match.
Yep.
I think he wants that fight with Izzy where he'll let some things go. And I got Cannonier winning by decision.
Yeah, I got Cannonier by decision too, just exactly as you said. This is a title eliminator for him. Yeah. He's not going to do anything brash. He's not going to do anything stupid. He's going to go out there and try to do what he needs to do to win the fight. That said, I do think he exchanges in some flurries. We've seen Cannonier sometimes hit you with the surprise turn-up where he'll just string some punches together. And
much like Whittaker.
So that actually it could make for some fireworks, and we may be totally wrong.
Off.
This thing might be a knockout.
Yeah.
But I'm sticking with it. I'm going a close fight, 29-28, Cannonier. Cannonier gets the shot. No, not even a split decision.
But
I'm going to go unanimous decision, but 2 rounds to 1. All 3 judges' scorecards.
And make no mistake, I definitely think it's going to be a fun fight. I just think it's going to be a calculated, precise, a striking clinic for the most part.
With these 2 guys, you can't not have a fun fight.
Right. So I'm super excited about it, and
Izzy's
definitely going to be watching.
Oh, yeah. And the fight everybody's going to be watching.
Dun, dun, dun.
I don't know if you ever heard about these 2 guys.
Yeah, drum roll, please.
Justin Gaethje is going to be taking on some guy named Khabib Nurmagomedov.
My God.
So, there's no introduction needed. Gaethje's the biggest underdog on the card. He's plus 275. Can he get it done against the undefeated Russian phenom?
This is literally such a fun fight. I'm so excited. I love making predictions, but this one I don't. My gut's telling me one thing, which is go with Khabib if I'm trying to bet money, but I'm not betting money on this one, so I'm going to just speak from the truth. And in my opinion, Justin Gaethje shouldn't be this big of an underdog. I think what he did to Tony Ferguson was masterful. I think he deserves a little bit more credit for that, and he should also give himself some more credit because nobody was doing that. Tony Ferguson's the baddest dude at 155 that nobody wanted to fight. That was on a 12 or 13 fight.
Kukui.
12 fight win streak, which is equal to Khabib's entire UFC career, which was about 12 fights as well. And, you've got clearly the right guys in there, but he was able to just take Ferguson and tear him apart limb from limb, have Tony Ferguson, who's such a game fighter, turning around at parts, not even because Tony was like avoiding the fight, but literally he couldn't see and he had to tuck his tail and run a couple times to try to just gain a second so he didn't get knocked out or anything. And Gaethje fought a perfect fight. I think if the Gaethje shows up that fought Tony Ferguson, this is for sure Khabib's hardest matchup. Not saying he loses, but on that note, I've been watching a lot of stuff on Khabib, and he's always been a determined, disciplined guy. He's always had his father by his side. His father, didn't get to see near as many of his UFC fights as he would have liked to because of the visa issues. He did get to see his son, take the Abu Dhabi fight and win over there in spectacular fashion. And I think there's just this undeniable force that's in Khabib right now. He's going to be doing it for his dad, and for that reason, I cannot bet against Khabib in this fight. I think I just think this is going to be a masterful performance for Khabib.
Does he get it? Does he finish Justin, or does Justin make it all 5?
It's all 5. All five. At first, I was thinking it would probably be a stoppage, but it's Justin's too tough.
He's too tough. The only time we've seen Justin really get knocked out is when he gets reckless. And if you look at what he's done lately in this last fight, specifically against Tony Ferguson, Justin's always had it in him.
Right.
He's always been that good. But it's sometimes you get into a situation where you allow yourself to be painted into a corner.
Right.
You're the crazy guy that goes in there and does backflips
the highlight
off
reel.
The cage. You're the highlight reel. And so you kind of almost assume that persona,
right?
Which is great. It's made Justin Gaethje a household name. But he realized, okay, now I'm getting into my late 30s, mid 30s. If I want to really be serious about being a champion, about leaving my legacy as one of the greatest in the 155 division, I've got to tone that down, not completely, but just a little bit, so that I can go and apply the techniques that I know how to apply. And when you watched him fight Tony Ferguson, It was an absolute boxing masterful performance. He kept Tony at bay with the jab. Every time Tony would kind of try one of his rush in sort of unorthodox style movements, Justin would be very calculated and jab, boom, power shot, hook, and then circle and move, and then set up again, engage on his terms, as you always like to say.
Yeah. It was masterful.
Justin's a great wrestler. He's a top-notch wrestler as far as the UFC goes. All that said, he's going up against one of the best MMA fighters to ever step
on paper, the most
octagon.
dominant. On paper, the most dominant fighter of all time.
And yes, Justin can get it done.
Yeah.
And for all the people that said that we were crazy for saying this is not Khabib's toughest fight yet, I think they're wrong.
Yeah,
I think this is absolutely Khabib's toughest fight. And Khabib, one thing that one of our most loyal listeners and leaves the best comments, Mr. Korean British, shout out to you. We don't even know your real name, but shout out to you.
You always come with the heat, sometimes even more fire than we do. So we really appreciate it.
He said that a lot of people talk about how good Khabib is and how he needs the cage to utilize the takedown, but nobody talks about just his wrestling or sambo in general. I agree with that, and I can tell you he's in there with Daniel Cormier. He's in there with Luke Rockhold.
Yeah.
Those guys are saying he's giving us problems on the mat. Khabib likes the cage because that's where he feels like the biggest gap in skill set is from other people. But that said, he can still open wrestle with damn near anybody.
Right.
And so Khabib does not need to back Justin up and get him against the cage to
that's not
win
his
the
only
fight.
Key to victory.
It's what he will probably try to do. I'm not going to offer to you that he's going to do something other than that. There's no evidence to prove that he would.
Right.
But if Justin is able to stay off the cage, I do still think Khabib can win this fight by being smart. I mean, Khabib, he's such a good grappler. You saw with that overhand how he knocked Conor down. It's because Conor so respected the takedown that he just feinted the takedown a little bit. Conor dropped both hands, went to a sprawl position, and boom, overhand over the top.
Right.
Habib knocked him right on his butt. So Khabib is just too good. He's just too well-rounded.
Yeah.
He's getting better with the striking every day, which is scary. And I think that this is a tough fight. But Justin, he's the king of violence, man.
Yeah.
He's going to cut Khabib's face. Make no mistake about this. Khabib gets busted up in this fight.
Yeah.
But he wins it.
Yeah, and the reason I choose decision is because, Khabib's the best chances to take Justin Gaethje out of the fight is to render him unconscious. And I don't see this being a stand and trade and bang type of fight. I see it going to the ground. I see Khabib getting over on him with the grappling, and I think he'll hold him down and take some really impressive rounds and stuff. Make no mistake about it, Justin Gaethje had tons of highlights when he fought Tony Ferguson. Khabib, this one's going to be a tough fight, but I do have him winning decision, and I couldn't be more excited for the main event.
Guys, that's it for our predictions. We hope you're excited as excited for this fight card as we all are, especially the main and co-main. Let us know in the comments. Did we get these predictions right? On the ones we differed, who do you guys agree with more, me or Nick?
Yeah.
And thanks as always, guys. Please like, comment, subscribe, and check us out where you listen to podcasts.
Enjoy
Have a
the
great
fights.
day.